Yeah, and I, Wow, what a great lead into our worship today. How are you today? We're really glad that you're here. My name is Brian Cook. I'm the senior pastor here at Grace Church. This is my friend and colleague, Scott Pattison, senior pastor over at St. Luke's United Methodist Church. We're really glad that you're here today for our Advent Connection production of The Winter Rose. How are you, Scott?
Oh, great. This has been one of those things that we've been talking about and dreaming about, and just sensing that God is up to something, especially with our two congregations. And it's been neat because as we've been talking, other people said, I felt that for years. And to be able to go, what are the many ways during the season of Advent we can just, what are some things we can do better together? And definitely in the season, to be able to live stream, have a few safely in this room, but knowing that, boy, definitely in this moment, it's better to, we're gathered uniquely in all of our formats.
Yes, we are. So we're glad that you're here with us this afternoon. We're also glad for the folks that are joining us at home, watching online live. And I got to tell you, this is our first live stream from Grace Church, and so I'm really excited about that. We're really excited to have our combined choirs, our combined handbell groups, and I also want to say you're going to see them. You're going to see this group right here, but the group you're not going to see is the group behind the scenes. And I want to say a huge thank you to them, our tech team. This is a combined effort from the tech team from St. Luke's and also from Grace, being able to offer our first live stream here. So thank you to our tech crew that is here today. So how was worship this morning?
It was really good just to be able to worship very differently. We opened our doors for those who cannot worship, and so we had a few there. But one of the neat things that our midweek shared experience during Advent has actually allowed us to test drive so that this afternoon can be a reality to be able to live stream. And we've been doing this for about 8 months, and each week is a learning experience. And I know then as the team that you have brought in and we begin to come together, we've learned a lot, and I'm excited that we're able to do this as the two congregations in the manner that we're doing it in.
Yeah, and this is a test drive for us here at Grace because we'll be preparing for our Christmas Eve service as well. And I know that's going to be a combined effort for us as well. You want to touch on that?
Yeah, our two Christmas Eve opportunities, and we started going, what would that look like? Because time and place and format are always different options people look for. And so we're excited that between our two churches, the Advent Connection, we're having two Christmas Eve opportunities, both live streamed, 4:30 here. Look very similar to what has historically been here, and then at 7 o'clock at St. Luke's, and it's one of those different options, different ways that we can get more connected and have options and to do things. We're doing everything different this year, aren't we? And to be able to rethink things. How was worship today?
It was great. I got to tell you though, a lot of our folks were disappointed in the preaching because, for those who don't know, Scott was supposed to be here today. And so for 2 weeks in a row, we've been back and forth trying to switch pulpits and as part of our Advent Connection. And because of the pandemic and all the stuff going on and indecision on how we're going to meet and worship, we just decided to forego the pulpit switch this season. We're going to try again in Lent. But for 2 weeks now, the folks here at Grace were anticipating Pastor Scott being here. And both Sundays I walked in, they're like, why are you here? Why isn't Pastor Scott here? We were expecting a good message today. So
I received that too as I walked in. They said, where's Brian? He's supposed to be here today. And so it's been fun to be able to have that shared, and it just feels really good.
It does. And as we have been talking, we really believe that God is up to something really special here in Kokomo between the Methodist churches. And this is more than a conversation between Grace Church and St. Luke's. This is some other churches from our Wesleyan Methodist heritage that are also in conversation. How God is stirring among us and how we can be stronger together. And I'm really glad that you and the folks are friends from St. Luke's choir, handbell, and tech crew are here. Our guests that are here today, we are no longer guests. We're family. And we're really glad that you're here today. Welcome. Let us enjoy this incredible celebration of worship today as our choirs, our handbell group share with us today the Winter Rose. Before we jump in, Why don't we pray? Scott, do you mind leading us in prayer?
Sure. Let us
today?
join together. God, we thank you. We thank you that you're a God who goes before us. And even though we're living in moments that are the first time we've experienced them, or this pandemic, and having to do things different, this holiday season, and making changes and adjustments, Lord, you've already gone before us, and you're meeting us in these moments. And so we're so
While the world lies frozen beneath the chilly breath of winter, a spotless rose blooms. Against the harsh surroundings, its beauty unfolds, one petal at a time. The winter rose is born so that the garden might be restored. The Holy One of Israel says, "The rain and the snow come down from heaven. They water the earth, causing it to bud and flourish. In the cold of winter, you will be like a well-watered garden. Your Redeemer, the Rose of Sharon, will come to Zion. Blessed are all who wait for him." Every valley will be lifted high, and every mountain made low. Spring will drive winter away, and the garden will rejoice. Like the rose, it will burst into bloom, and the glory of the Lord, the splendor of God, will be revealed.
So
In the bleak midwinter, frosty wind made moan. Earth still stood hard as iron, water like a stone, long, long ago. The fragile infant entrusted to Mary and Joseph is the promised one. With wonder, the couple ponders their sacred charge.
I will stay here.
The birth of Jesus is replete with contrast. The Christ child, sent from the riches of heaven, is born into the household of a poor carpenter. Though he possesses the universe, no one grants him shelter, and he is laid in a manger. Bread of life, laid to sleep in a feeding trough. And although he was long awaited, his birth would go unnoticed were it not for a chorus of angels rousing shepherds from their slumber. Terrified at first, the shepherds are awestruck by the sight and sound of these heavenly beings. Against a backdrop of dazzling light, their earthly singing is a call to joy, their wings stirring up an infectious rhythm. Captivated by the song, the shepherds are led in a jubilant rush towards the stable. Unexpectedly, these tenders of sheep dance into the very presence of God's own Lamb. wise men follow the light, bearing gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But the child they seek is more precious and more fragrant than these. He is the winter rose, God's gift to the world. The rose continues to blossom, its splendor revealed to all who embrace it. Spotless and perfect, its beauty is beyond compare. But all too soon, its season passes, and the rose prepares to die. The rose, adorned with thorns, stands in full bloom. One by one the petals fall, blood red upon the ground. As they are crushed beneath the feet of the crowd, the fragrance of redemption is released. Lo, the winter has passed, the rains are over and gone. Once more, the winter rose blooms in the fertile soil of our souls. The Spirit is poured upon us from on high, its fragrance filling our hearts. The garden has been restored. Be joyful, the season for singing has come.
Another hand for them.
You know, it's interesting when we think about how we do things. Many times we can say, well, they did a good job, which they did. And that's why we're clapping, but it's always amazing. Beauty calls for response, doesn't it? And when beauty happens, we just are stirred to respond. And sometimes in church it's like, well, should we do that? And yet this is about God's story that God first gave, and we respond to God's giving and the beauty of the music to tell the story of God's gift of love, that we are responding not only through clapping, but also are wanting to be here and experience things, even though we have to experience them differently.
Yeah. I think just being able to gather and to celebrate the season. And, you know, this Sunday being the third Sunday of Advent, we were speaking today about joy. And it's moments like this where we can gather and just pause in God's presence and hear a beautiful production like this. So thank you to our choir, handbells, to our trio here. Thank you. And I understand that they had an extra lot of work in this as they were rewriting parts of this. So thank you for all your work. Thank you, everybody, for this. What a beautiful, beautiful day. It's not often that we gather in a space like this and not pass a hat. And so Today, as we think about giving in a season of giving, Grace Church and St. Luke's are combining together to do ministry together. And I think today we were talking earlier this afternoon about an offering and what should we do with it? How do we celebrate and how do we give? And so we were talking about ministries that both churches are connected to throughout our community, around the world, still supporting them. And so today, as you leave, there's drop boxes here. If you would like to go online and give to your church, whether St. Luke's or Grace, you're welcome to do that. And if you'll just designate today Winter Rose or the Sunday concert, we'll make sure that all of those proceeds go to the ministries and of our local ministries and around the world that we've been supporting that are short in this time of year. So 100% of all of that will go somewhere, and we'll let you know exactly where it went. But we're thank you for being here. How about one more hand for our choirs today? One more hand for them.
You know, it's so appropriate that our response is not only clapping, but also giving to God through the local church. And this story is not just about what happens in our walls. It's about what happens in our world. Absolutely. And to be able to give, to make a difference however we do that. And we're better together.
Yes, we are. I want to make sure there's nothing else, right? All right. I want to make sure. Yes, yeah. Thank you, Peggy. So as we prepare to depart this space, we want to invite you back to an online experience this coming Wednesday, 6:30, as our worship teams come together and we celebrate a midweek worship experience. And then also next Sunday, whether it's online or in person, we're still deciding on all of those aspects, but just stay close to your social media and your emails and texts, and we'll let you know what's going on. But be preparing your heart for Christmas Eve as we continue to celebrate in this Advent connection today. Now, may the God who pours in joy into all of us and fills us with joy, may that be a joy that you leave here with and a joy that you share with one another that you come in contact with. Have a great evening and a wonderful week. We'll see you next weekend. Take care.